where would they be? Like Newton, standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Where would Einstein be without Newton?
Where would Einstein be without Newton?
Yeah,
That's a side issue.
well, that's the point I'm making.
No, the point you're making is this. You believe that science leads to truth, essentially. That's what you believe.
Yeah.
Okay? The problem with that belief is you can always have a new observation which can challenge your previous conclusion.
That's wonderful. I think that's fantastic.
So therefore science doesn't lead to truth.
Well, it leads to our best understanding of currents. It's called
Our best understanding of what? Reality?
Sorry, I want to interrupt a bit.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? Like, we use science to put planes in the sky. It works.
Okay, that's a very good point. We went to the moon based upon Newtonian mechanics, right? Now, we went to the moon based upon Newtonian mechanics, and Newtonian mechanics assume time and space is fixed and gravity is a pulling force. Einstein came along with general relativity and showed time and space are not fixed, they're actually relative, and gravity is not a pulling force, it's actually a pushing force due to space-time curvature. So although Newton's laws, they helped us get to the moon, they worked, it wasn't true that the Newtonian model was actually the best representation of reality. So science works, it doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
There's a difference between the two.
Right. I am out of my depth because I don't know anything about quantum mechanics.
No, you don't need to know anything about quantum mechanics. All you need to know is just because something works doesn't mean it's true.
Okay. Right. So.
Because that was your claim that planes are in the sky, medicine works, therefore science works, therefore it's true. The fact of the matter is, something working doesn't mean it's true. It just means it works.
Yeah.
For example, there's a philosopher called Larry Loden. He's written a philosophical paper in which he put together 30 empirically successful theories which turned out to be false. Right? These are theories which continuously worked. And even today in science, if you go up to any physicist and you say to him, do you believe in general relativity? He'll say yes. Do you believe in quantum mechanics? He'll say yes. Yet both these theories contradict each other at a fundamental level, which is why they're trying to come up with some sort of compromise like quantum gravity. So just because something works doesn't mean it's true. And science is not the best representation of reality. That's a metaphysical claim, so by definition, that claim is false. It's self-refuting. If you say science is the best representation of reality, you've already disproven that claim. Do you understand what I said?
Yeah, I do. But I still maintain my position that science is the best representation of
Okay, so
reality.
that statement, science is the best representation of truth. That statement, can you empirically test that statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, using the scientific method.
If you manage to do that, you will win the Nobel Prize. I promise you. Do you know why? Because that statement is a self-refuting statement. Because this statement cannot be tested, it is a metaphysical statement, meaning beyond science. And you can give me half the money when you win the Nobel Prize. I'm going to make a claim though. I'm going to make a new claim.
Go on then.
The new claim I'm going to make is the best way we can arrive at truth is not science, it's actually by using logic. That's my claim.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Science is based upon mathematics, logic, testimony, self-evident truths like the world is real. But science cannot prove these things, these are foundational. So when it comes to the belief in God or the belief in morality, like we were having a discussion about morality before, we cannot use science, we have to use metaphysics. We have to use something beyond science. We have to use what science is based upon, which is reason and logic.
I haven't got to Kant in the podcast yet. But
Sorry?
nothing.
Because earlier we were speaking about morality, and there was a sort of finger pointing, this is wrong, but you can never show that's wrong scientifically.
No,
like,
you can't. No.
Sorry?
No, you can't. It's based on suffering and empathy. That's where I get my moral compass from.
Suffering and empathy.
Yeah.
Those are values. You have to break down those values into something else.
Well, it's
Those are. What's the lowest common denominator to those values?
I don't understand
Okay.
the question.
Do you believe in God?
No.
No. Okay. Do you believe we evolved via a Darwinian mechanism?
Yes.
So that's how we evolved. Okay. So if that's the case, then our morality is subjective, is based upon biology.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know what Darwin said about that?
Well, Darwin went in the Descent of Man, was it? Darwin's not to be. Darwin posed the first part of the story, but well, go on then. What did he say?
Darwin said if we were reared under the same way that bees were reared, then we would be okay with killing our fertile siblings.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. Would you be okay with killing someone that's fertile? In Speaker's Corner?
Why? Why would I do that?
No, would you be okay with that? That's my question. No, why would you do it? Would you be okay with that? If the answer is no, then that basically means you don't believe that morality is subjective.
I do believe that morality is subjective.
So you believe if we today evolved under a different mechanism, under a different set of biological conditions, it would be okay to kill small children? Because that's what some things some species actually do within the animal kingdom.
Yes, I know they do, but that helps them. Yeah, I do think that everything that we do helps perpetuate our genes. But going and killing.
No, wait. Everything that we do helps perpetuate our genes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Are you trying to propagate your genes in some way?
Well, I'm improving my intelligence, which would then go off to.
Your intelligence would help you how?
What? How would my intelligence help me
with
to
your
procreate?
genes? Because it's all about promoting your genes.
Yeah.
So how would being more intelligent help you propagate your genes?
It would make me more suited for partners. It would make me more.
Do you know, according to research, the most intelligent people have the least amount of children, and sometimes no children at all? So if we were to put together, say, if you were to put together Richard Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Lawrence Krauss, all these guys which are supposed to be intelligent, like Sam Harris, take all these people together, and we were to compare them to a Bedouin Arab who has 50 children, which they do, then their intelligence hasn't helped them with survival and reproduction.
Right.
So intelligence doesn't help you with your survival and reproduction.
That's going off on a bit of a tangent.
No,
now.
it's not, because you said
right, okay, so why else am I out here having this discussion?
Because look, morality is an illusion of the genes. You have to, if you really believe in Darwinism, then morality is an illusion created by our genes. That's what it is.
Morality is an illusion created.
Morality, the sense of right and wrong,
yeah.
is an illusion created by our genes to help us survive and reproduce. So social cohesion is only there to help your survival and reproduction. That's what it actually is. So there is no such thing as right and wrong.
Well, not objectively. Yeah.
Objectively. And do you know the problem with that claim?
It's against Darwin?
No.
What?
The problem with that claim is it's self-refuting.
Okay.
Because everything becomes meaningless. There's no meaning.
Yeah, that's okay with me.
That's okay with you?
Yeah.
So what's the point of having a conversation?
Because, well, you're talking like the grand scheme of like we're going back to the why question, and
no, I'm not. I'm saying we're having a conversation. Our words carry meanings, okay? So we're actually trying to arrive at truth, correct?
Right.
If Darwinian evolution is actually true, truth is actually an illusion.
I think the truth can be subjective as well.
Okay, so truth can be subjective, so what's the point of having a conversation?
Well, there's empiricism as well. That is a kind of truth that I subscribe to.
But you just contradicted yourself, because you said truth is subjective, but empiricism is a type of truth.
What? I just contradicted. Say again?
You said empiricism is a type of truth. Before that, you said truth is relative. That's a contradiction.
Which one is that?
Look, let me just ask you a frank question.
Yeah.
Do you believe in Darwinian evolution because you've been socialized into it? Because it's just, you know, they did this experiment in Stanford in which they took 3 lines, right? One was a short line, one was a shorter line, and one was the shortest line. And they had all these subjects. All of them were actors except for one guy. It's a very famous experiment. And all of them, they were asked which is the shortest line. And all of them went C, 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 C. But it wasn't. A was actually the shortest line. The test subject, all the rest of them are actors. Do you know what he actually did? He said C. He denied his perception to fit inside the social environment. So I believe, and this is my claim, most people in this country, they accept Darwinian evolution, including yourself most likely, because of this social sheepish behavior. It's nothing to do with logic.
Okay. Do you think, what about dogs? Are they wolves or are they dogs?
That's a totally irrelevant discussion.
If you don't believe in Darwinian evolution, then you don't believe in dogs.
Okay.
You don't believe in seedless grapes.
Okay, that's actually a fallacy of division. Let me just explain to you a fallacy of
You're going to
division.
talk about micro and macro?
No, this micro and macro is a fallacy.
Yes, oh good.
So look, I have this book in front of me, okay? If one thing in this book is true, does that mean the whole book is true?
No.
No. Perfect. The idea that a Chihuahua and a pit bull have a common ancestor is a fallacy of division if you try to use that to prove Darwinian evolution. Because if you imagine this is a book called Darwinian Evolution, and there is an observation in there called Chihuahua pit bull ancestry, that fact itself doesn't prove the entire book, because that fact can fit in line with a whole range of beliefs, including intelligent design, young earth creationism, Mendelian mutationism, Lamarckian evolution, evolution by self-organization, a whole bunch of paradigms. So you can't just take one random observation and say, therefore the whole is true.
Okay.
And do you know Darwin actually said that at the beginning of The Origin of Species? Have you actually read that book?
No, not actually.
Okay, I ask you to read that book. And right in the beginning of The Origin of Species, he says, I have a whole bunch of observations in this book. I have things about anatomy, I have things about embryology, I have things about biogeography. I have a whole bunch of observations in this book. And I know and I understand that these same observations can lead to a completely different theory to the theory that I have, and even a theory which is a complete opposite theory to mine. Because he understands the philosophy of science, that the same observations can give rise to different theories. But he goes on to say that I still think my theory is correct. That goes to show that there's a popular disconnect between what secular academics, the way they understand Darwinian evolution, and the way that laymen understand it. Because they think it's true, when actually, when you look at their work, they tell you about the probabilistic nature of it, the speculation of it, the assumptions of it, and the disputes of it. So what we should do as laymen is not base our metaphysical beliefs on something we don't even fundamentally understand. Because it's about life and death. You know, people are like, I don't believe, like, I'll ask you a question. There's a frog in Alaska called the wood frog, right? For a few months of the year, it completely freezes over. It's almost like you put it in a freezer, completely freezes, his heart stops, blood stops, everything like that happens. How did that come about? If I was to ask a layman like yourself or myself, how did that come about?
I don't know.
But you just say, do you believe in Darwinian evolution?
Yeah. Well, I imagine that there's environmental factors which have drawn it there and...
Exactly.
Right.
So you have taken that blanket belief with a frog that you never knew existed before this conversation, and you've applied that belief to that reality. Do you know what that actually is? That's a religion.
Yeah.
Did you know that frog existed before this conversation?
I had heard of it actually, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it was in another...
What if I was to tell you about an octopus that becomes invisible at the bottom of the ocean? That claim that I just made